Thank you all for joining the Digital Workplace Strategy Summit. This is the building blocks of the employee experience. Today, we are going to be discussing the building business value with effective internal communication. So let's talk through the agenda that we are going to be touching on today. First, I'm going to introduce myself. Second, we're going to dive into why is communication important, and then jump over to our communication maturity model, where we'll be able to identify kind of where you are as an organization and where you can get started. Also, wrapping up with what is the business value to effective communication. So today, I would love to introduce myself. My name is Ashley Diekman. I am a National Productivity Practice Manager. I have been at Catapult Systems for the last 7 years, and the last 4 I have been in productivity. So I'm excited to share what I've learned today on effective communication, but first, let's go ahead and dive into what is effective communication. So basically, to sum effective communication up, it's as easy as making sure that someone can take the information or news that you're sharing and achieve the desired outcomes that you're requesting. Okay, so that's where we're focused on, is making sure that the communication of the information or news is getting to that person and that they're effectively able to produce the desired result that you're looking for. So as we dive into this digital workplace maturity model, we have divvied that up into 9 columns of digital workplace workloads that require maturity, requires change. And so you can see here the 9 levels at the bottom, the 9 columns, and the 5 maturity models that we've called out. Today, we're going to be focusing on the communications column and how we can mature in that area. So today, I want to start with why is communication important? As we dive into communication and its importance to the workplace, it's always great to start with some statistics. And so as we dive into workplace communication statistics, I was able to pull a poll of 1,000 full-time employees, and they were able to determine that many companies are dealing with some serious communication breakdowns, where there's only actually about 15% of those 1,000 employees that say that their company is doing a good job in fostering that communication. And so as we see that there is a need for better communication, we also want to understand, well, what do we think that problem is? And so over the last 3 years, the workplace has drastically changed, and so I don't want to limit that. Where this maturity model comes in, a lot of the recent changes are because we have gone completely remote, most organizations. There are hybrid organizations or organizations that require their employees to come in person, but majority of the workforce now is working from home, and so that does require the need to reach and engage employees frequently based on their location, because we have now been able to hire people in any state because they can work remote. Also, remote employees do need a unique way to build culture and create conversation, since we aren't face-to-face and we don't have the water breaks or the break room chatter or the running into the hall or seeing each other at local areas. So there is that need for that additional culture. So the question still remains is, how can we drive more effective communication, and what does that look like in this new digital workplace? And so that brings us back to our communication maturity model. So if we look at this digital workplace maturity model and we focus on the communications column, you can see here that we have the 5 levels of maturity. And so I'm going to go through and kind of label some tools that you might be familiar with, or what classifies which label you are on, so that you can help identify where's your organization at and where would you like to get to. Some people might be at the base, and yet they want to get to the mid. That is where they think that they can handle it. Some people might already be at the mid and they want to look to get to the high and then maybe 2 years from now excel. So it really depends on what you're looking for, but there are so many tools out there. Catapult would love to help you get started in just moving up to your maturity of your choice. And so to do that, we need to identify where you currently stand in your maturity in your organization. And so that base maturity is that static content and communication. So this is anything from documents, presentations, files, white papers, landing pages. In the future slides, we are going to go into an actual process of an organization so that you can better identify where you stand on this maturity model. But right now, we're going to go over kind of what tools are available to you in each of these areas. And so these are the static contents and communications where once you hand out a document or you have a presentation, if you share that presentation or you share those files, it requires people to update it. So anyone that has something, it's pretty static. Going to the low, this is central communication activities and static periphery. These are the org-wide email communications, even posting on email break rooms, posting break room boards. I know that some people still have those break rooms and require a paper to be printed out and posted onto that break room board, bulletin board, or some people have electronic boards as well. But again, this is a central communication that is still pretty static. So let's go to the mid-level. This is where we have multiple managed channels and sharing of articles. So this is where we have department-specific communications. We have intranet links where you're no longer attaching an email or attaching a news article or information. Now you're sending actual department-specific communications to a department, or maybe you are sharing an intranet link where they can find the information themselves. This is also where we start to receive interaction back and forth. So I have seen on the virtual board that some organizations have, they might have a QR code, or they can put a QR code on the bottom of an email where it's asking for that interaction, it's asking for that feedback. Also, we come with tools like forms or polls where they now not only are getting information, they're able to give information as well. So now let's go to high. This is the multiple flexible channels, seamless integration of content. So this is where we're posting in Teams channels or Yammer posts. We can @mention people where we are now housing most of our work or our notifications within one user interface as Teams. So Teams, you can have a notification set up. You can have Yammer integrated to your Teams so you can get those notifications. Even Viva Connect, where that's now targeting communications for you or determining what information is important to you. @mentions, again, is flagging you in Teams where you are working in order to get your attention on what is needed. So this flexible integration on this high level is really figuring out how do you get it to the individual and personalized level, which is the Viva Connect dashboards that target communication, and you're seeing more of the right information at the right time. So you can see that effectiveness jump up. So you might be asking, well, what is in the Excel category? This is really where we start diving in to artificial intelligence or multiple channel communications, targeted, intelligence driven. So this is where you're really getting that personalization as well as that integration and automation. So this is where you start pulling in chatbots. So instead of actually having a help desk, you might have a help desk team site where they can go in and they can talk to the chat bot on what they have a question on, and that chat box can then answer its questions, even throw up an adaptive card that gives more information for what they're looking for or where to go to find that information. And then you can use analytics to pull the data, see how these things are working, and really tailor to do better as you continue to grow with the communications and the effectiveness and your end users. So this top level is when you're reviewing your results and integrating through the improvements of your organization. So analytics on communications, metrics for data points, and then the chat tools that can assist your user force for the information that they need right away. And those chat box are actually AI driven. So they might at first know 10% of the questions, but as they continue to get asked and you continue to iterate through those, they can become about 70% after learning. So you can see how it continues to grow in that digital workplace. So determining where you are is the first step. And then we want to ask where to start. Where do you start as an organization? And so I wanted to take you through where we just identified what are the tools available. Well, now I want to identify how does this impact your processes? How does this impact your end users? How does this impact your organization? And so I wanted to take a quick journey through a human resources department and how these tools could assist them. So this isn't going to be everything, but this is just a short snippet of kind of where we can see this unfolding in each one of those levels as a human resource department. And I also want to point to the QR code at the bottom left-hand corner here, where you can always ask questions and talk to a Catapult expert as we go through this. So let's start at the base. The base is HR file shares. I'm sure if you don't have them, you remember them. HR file shares, email attachments, physical paperwork. So as a human resources department, there was a point in time where they were attaching emails or emailing attachments where if they were outdated, they had to reattach those, resend those. File shares that you were constantly having to share and keep updated and constantly update the versioning numbers of those documents. And then also physical paperwork. So definitely in HR with onboarding, we saw physical paperwork. Well, now, if we move into that low category, which I think that this would be a lot of the starting points for many organizations, is that they have adapted to the HR SharePoint sites where they can house in a document library all the documents that they need. They can point people there. If they have that department SharePoint site, it might even have a quick link on there for onboarding, a quick link for benefits. So as an end user, we no longer have to scour our emails to find that attachment, but we can now know if we just go to the intranet and jump to the department site, we can find what we need. So you can see where this effectiveness is growing as we jump through each level. And as we go to the mid, so this is where we begin to integrate more interactiveness, response, and feedback, where we're not only asking the end user to do something, we are asking to interact with them and to grow that effective communication. So this is where you build out those Yammer and team posts. So as human resources, this might be a team channel or a Yammer channel that people can subscribe to and follow, where all of the updated information for human resources, it might be at the end of every year, it's all the tax benefit updates. Maybe you have end of year stock sharing where you want to go ahead and post those somewhere, and anyone that impacts would then choose to subscribe to your Yammer channel or attend your team's posts or get notifications for those. This is also something where in the intranet, maybe they go to the intranet and you have a banner that is asking them, hey, are you new here? Or, hey, do you still have questions on your HR benefits? And it can grab someone's attention where they're actually able to click on that and get to where they need to go. This is where you're asking them to give responses and feedbacks, and they know that that's somewhere that they always go to the intranet site to get their information. And so if it's something that you want to gain that information, you can go ahead and do it in a way that gets them to easily respond. So maybe email isn't working, but that interactive banner on the homepage is getting a lot of action. And so you can see how the effectiveness is going based off of the responses. This is also where you can start pulling in forms and QR codes and polls for identifying, hey, we just had our tax meeting on kind of what's changing for the new year, or our benefits are updating. Send out a poll afterwards, or send a form to get their feedback. How can we do better next year? Or what do you feel like we're lacking? So now we're asking them to be a part of that so that we can continue to iterate and move forward on that effectiveness. And so as we move up to the high category, this is where we are now using that flexible and integrated areas. So this is targeted communications, consolidating the workplace, and adding those subscriptions and app mentions so that all of the work is seamlessly happening in the same user interface. So this is where we've now taken getting the communication out to getting the people the information that they need to do their job and to limit any distractions or content switching. So this is basically utilizing the tools that you have to make sure that all the work is getting done in teams. So as an HR department, like we said, they can jump into a Teams channel where they are getting notifications. You can subscribe to those Yammer posts. You can get app mentions. So they are understanding all the work that needs to get done in one location. This is great when there is something that needs to be done. Maybe these are expense reports for human resources, or maybe you guys have a boot camp that people go to, and this is something that you are making sure that you have the information that they need and you need it urgently. So you're getting them the information in an area that they are. So this is where you limit the links to other tools, and you bring everything within Teams. So you're consolidating that workplace, limiting distractions, and taking more time with content switching. Now, if we go to Excel, this is where we start pulling in the chat tools, the chat boxes that can answer all your HR questions. So instead of the end user going out and searching or using subscriptions or chatting someone, now this is using chat boxes, chatbots that can actually answer all the HR questions. So now as an end user, all I have to do is go to one area, ask my question, and get that information. This is where we start pulling adaptive cards to provide that information. This is data-driven personalization. This is getting analytics. This is artificial intelligence and data-driven communications targeting. So this is where you might, as an HR department, want to send an update on benefits to all the end users or the employees that are almost within retirement age. Maybe there's a great benefit, or maybe there's a great session that you want them to be aware of. Maybe there's a lot of employees that have families, and so you have some information on some college funding benefit discussion that you want them to have. And so this is where you can write tools and help bots right through Teams chats to help with that effective communication. So with all of that, you might be asking, well, what is the business value here that I would be getting if I wanted to go to that top level? And so when communication is done in an effective manner, it drives employee commitment and productivity. But what are we seeing statistically? So a few things is improves the employee commitment, it reduces staff turnover and increases those commitment levels. It improves motivation levels and achieves a higher level of productivity. Employees become advocates of the organizations, selling it to customers and employees. So when you have happy employees, your customers and your internal employees know it. So that is an effective communication value. You might be thinking, well, that's great that that's available, but how does it impact some other communication methods or pain points that you guys are seeing right now? So to go through this quickly, these are a few internal communications with management, with teams, with one-on-one communications, peers, resources. There are so many tools out there that we can assist in all of these communication methods. We have live events, blog posts, stream channels, analytics. Even when we have one-on-ones, we have to-do planner, whiteboard that assist end users with continuing with these communication methods in a more digital workplace availability because of our remote workforce. So again, you can always click on the QR code if you want to learn more, but as I'm running out of time, I do want to show you all of the tools that we offer in Office 365. I know that this is a lot, and it shows the level of complexity and breadth of all of the channels that we have to communicate. There's a huge variety, and a lot of the channels are being omni-channel and using intelligence to target communications, and they all enhance effectiveness and success. So most of these do correlate with that top level of the maturity, the top 2 levels, and you can see how this can get overwhelming. So we are here to help. Again, we have a QR code if you want to talk to an expert, and we would love to help you move on your journey to your digital workplace maturity and communication, because this is not just an internal journey. This is also a journey throughout all of your departments, internal and external customers and employees. So you can see how all of those do impact your marketing, customers, sales, as well as the internal that we were able to talk through. So to wrap up the presentation today, we did want to ask for a few things. First, if you want to get to know more on the bridge between business intelligence and artificial intelligence, that first QR code, if you want to go ahead and click on that, and that will take you to our award-winning data experts. And we also want to hear from you on how did we do. If you could go ahead and fill out that quick survey. We do value your feedback, as this was on the communication journey for getting that interactive so that we can iterate and do better. Also, if this is something that you're interested in and you want to hear about what else we offer, we have a few more sessions that we think you would enjoy if you enjoyed the session today. One is collaboration. How to collaborate in a hybrid world. Next is automation. You could see how those 2 top levels of the maturity model do really focus on automation. So if you want to hear more, we have a whole session on automation, and we also have one on adoption and change management, because you can see if these are huge changes, we want to make sure your end users and your customers are ready to take on and adopt these changes. And so we have an entire session for adoption and change management that we hope you would tune into. But for now, thank you for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you.